Hello and welcome, Anonymous Weeb here to talk about Chainsaw Man Chapter 93 and where we might be going from here. But before that, do not forget to like the video if you find it enjoyable or dislike it, so I know that I need to make some changes, and leave a comment on what you disliked about the video. Alright, now getting into the chapter, we start off with Denji staring at the TV watching as people around the world praise the Chainsaw Man, praise him. For someone who grew up in a living hell, abused by his father, manipulated, and used by those with power over him, seeing himself being praised by so many people certainly would pull a chord with anyone. And as he starts crying and hugging the TV, sobbing about being popular, my heart goes out to him. Knowing that there are people out there who like you, who think you're cool or worthy of praise, is quite a nice feeling. But I must wonder if any of this is real. Makima's set up the whole thing to try and weaken the Chainsaw Devil by removing the fear him from the world. So, are these people really praising the Chainsaw Man of their own free will, or is this another ploy by Makima? I do not doubt she would do such a thing, but I have a hard time believing that she would be able to pull something like this off. From what we have seen, Makima is not able to outright control emotions, either removing them or manipulating the person regardless of their emotional state. I just thought it was something worth mention as it popped into my head while reading this chapter a second time. And as Kishibe, relaxing in his chair, opens his eyes to look at Denji, telling him to shut up, Denji looks at him still shaking with tears in his eyes. He tells Kishibe, probably the only person he has any sort of personal relationship with left other than Kobani, that he doesn't want to eat bread and jam for breakfast anymore, but that he wants to eat steak for breakfast every day. And after saying that, the floodgates burst open. Denji starts yelling about how he knows he cannot do that or that he should, but even so, and he starts declaring that he wants 5, no 10 girlfriend and wants tons of sex. Seeing Denji act like this makes it very clear just how growing up in the environment he did has left him emotionally immature, and the pressure of everything going on around him has caused him to finally let it all out. Despite being exposed to a great number of horrors and tragedies, Denji still had a childishness to him, one that came from never being able to have a proper life. He focused solely on the physical, and in this chapter, he starts yelling about how he wants to eat some good food every day and how he wants to have multiple girlfriends and have tons of sex. All of these thoughts, with exception to maybe the last one, are childish and speak to his immaturity but also his surprisingly pure nature. Despite saying about sex and having a harem, this comes from a place of ignorance and an innocence to his mentality, as he has no idea how such relationships really work. Looking at this from another perspective, from the way Denji is kneeling in front of the seated Kishibe, it resembled how a child might start yelling, crying, and demanding at a parent for something they want. And given that Kishibe outside of Aki was probably the first positive role model in Denji's life, he by default takes up the mantle of father figure in his life, or at the very least one of the few people that Denji feels like he can let out all his emotions on. And Kishibe, he doesn't outright reject the idea, he doesn't tell Denji off and say he is being stupid. Instead, he looks him in the eyes and speaks to him like he is speaking to someone who, at least in my opinion, he is quite fond of and does not want to see get himself killed. Telling Denji that if he goes out there and catches too much attention again, Makima will find him and she will kill him. So, the next time he becomes Chainsaw Man, he has to kill Makima. And that is a heavy blow, as we watch Denji's head slowly tilt downwards over the course of a few panels at the bottom of the page, a tear slowly forming in his eyes before finally falling. It is clear as day that he still has feelings for Makima despite all the crap she put him and the people he cares about through. But what I am still not understanding is how did Kishibe get not only Denji but Kobani to a safe location without being discovered by Makima? What sort of trick did he have to pull to do that? I doubt that it was as simple as throwing his coat over Denji and walking through the streets, but at this point I doubt it will ever get resolved, so I guess I'll just move on. So as day becomes night and night becomes day again, Denji sits watching the TV as it plays videos of him as Chainsaw Man. Wondering about how he could kill Makima, but try as he might he just cannot seem to come up with a concrete way of doing it. His mind is just filled with images of Makima, fantasizing about her right until the sun comes up. It reminds me of Stockholm Syndrome. Despite everything he can't seem to break the connection he has with her, or maybe it's more like how it is hard to get over your first proper crush, or how once you get out of a BD relationship you might blame yourself for it despite it not even being your fault. You can let me know what you think it is most like down in the comments. And then the scene transitions completely, to what at first, I thought was a dream sequence, but I'm fairly certain it isn't now. Denji in his normal Chainsaw Man form is sat on top of a grave cross in a hill filled with identical grave markers going on into the distance, further than the scene can show. Makima and her horde are walking up upon him, and you know what I find to be potentially kind of heartwarming if I am correct? Denji is wearing a white shirt, tie, pants, and trainers, but where did he get them? He could have just walked to his own home and got them, but I am going with the headcanon that Kishibe gave him a set of his own clothes because I just think that is cute. You're free to think whatever you want, but that is what I am using as my headcanon. And as we get a view over some of Makima's black-clad army, she asks him if he had come to die for her once and for all because he took on such a weak form. And with that Denji jumps off the cross and looks at her, asking that in her perfect world she wants to create if there will be no bad movies. And Makima is once again taken completely for surprise, having expected to be dealing with the Chainsaw Devil instead of Denji, and as she gives him a cold look, she wondered how he managed to change back to being himself. And as they stand facing off against one another, Makima makes her bed and now Denji is going to make her lay in it. She declares that it would be good to erase boring movies, and with that said Denji declares that he will have to kill her. Makima does not seem to take the threat seriously, sighing softly as looks at him, saying that everything from his current form to his voice is irritating and not befitting of Chainsaw Man. And there we have it. I always expected that Makima did not give a rat's ass about Denji and that he was just a means to an end, but now she has confirmed it herself. And as the crows fly away from the gravestones, we transition to the last page of the chapter. Makima and her horde of fiends and hybrids walking forwards, among them the bomb, katana, crossbow, broadsword, and 3 fiends or hybrids that I do not know what to call. And as the narrator says that this will be the beginning of the battle to decide everything, I cannot help but be worried we might get a tragic end. After all, given Makima's contract, any lethal damage gets transferred to one of the Japanese citizens, so how is he going to finish her off without killing everyone in Japan? This in my mind could go one of 3 ways. 1. Denji kills Makima so much that all of Japan dies and he is subsequently left all alone to mourn the loss of those that were cheering for him, along with the deaths of Kishibe and Kobani, who I assume are Japanese citizens. A bad end all things considered, seeing as he still loses the people he cares about, those that are not already dead anyway. 2. Makima manages to kill him and gain control of the Chainsaw Devil, thus being able to erase devils and chunks of reality however she damn well pleases, provided that there is a devil related to it, which is no doubt going to have some major ramifications if she goes after something like a primal fear, for instance. Can you imagine a world without darkness? How would that even work? 3. Kishibe and Kobani work together to kill anyone who has a contract with Makima just in time for Denji to lop off her head before she can do anything. The only problem is that as a devil, even if Denji manages to kill her on Earth, she will just revive in Hell, so how is he going to stop this happening again? Well, maybe if she revives in Hell she will lose all her memories and stop going after him, but that's a big if, and consuming her isn't really an option due to what she represents, unless the author really wants to go off the deep end for this one. But you let me know how you think this is all going to go down in the comments below, and remember to like the video if you liked video, dislike the video if you disliked the video, and have a good day or night wherever you are. Weebs signing off.